Thank you very much, Secretary General, and thank you for having me to chair this session. I'd like to thank the AAU again for what they have been able to do. You have raised the AAU to another level, and we have you and the chairman and your executive council to thank. I really wish that every vice chancellor could be here, because sometimes, you know, the kind of vibe, the way you smile alone makes all of us run around and make sure we do as much as we can. So thank you so much for that. I also, while congratulating AAU, we should also congratulate those who have decorated or have put this place in order. Well, sometimes I go crazy about things I see, and I'm not sure how many of you will be seeing this with me. If you look just down here, you could see all the decorations there. You can't find it anywhere else. It has to be Africa. And this is something that it helps. I mean, that's something that distinguishes Africa from anywhere else. If you see it anywhere else, they are stolen. And that's why I think this is important. In fact, the open science should have included making sure we record many things like this all over Africa, not just what to publish. Anyway, we have this evening, or I think it's evening, another important and hopefully entertaining session that we'll be talking about stakeholder engagement in the development of higher education in Africa, and it will be presentations from our strategic stakeholders and partners. We have 3 papers, or 3 presentations, and the first one is not what you have there on the program. It's not publishing research and scholarly works in Africa through open access. It is research impact beyond academia. But that is still by Taylor and Francis. There will be 2 segments to this presentation. The first one will be an introduction of the topic by Gabriela Govender, who is with me here. And she is a part of the Taylor and Francis Africa dynasty. So she's here to introduce the topic and also introduce her boss, Ms. Natasha Devasa, who will be presenting via video conferencing. And so we'll do that in 15 minutes. Then after that, we'll have topic 2 by Mr. Lee Kamolins, and he'll be talking about excellence and university reputation, the ranking of African universities. And the third one will be African SDGs universities, an innovation platform to reconnect African universities with the discourse of sustainable development. That's a lot of grammar here, but I'm sure Professor Alam Ahmed will do justice to that. Thereafter, we'll have the discussion for 10, 12 minutes, and then we'll give the presenters 1 minute each to respond. I hope this is agreeable with you. I'm a bit democratic. Thank you very much. So, without further ado, and with our rapporteur ready, and our rapporteur is Dr. Agnes Simata. Are you ready? Yeah, once you are ready, I think we can go. So you have the floor.
So thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gabriela, and it is truly an honor to be here to represent Taylor and Francis and to introduce you to our VP and Managing Director for India and Sub-Saharan Africa for Taylor and Francis. Before I get started, in your bags, you would have seen a card just asking for you to fill out some information. May I please ask if you can and bring them back to the table, We will have 2 lucky draws tomorrow during our tea break. So I'll start off with just an introduction of Taylor and Francis. Taylor and Francis is the world's leading publisher of high-quality, cross-disciplinary knowledge, and our speciality in research is in humanities and social sciences, science and technology, healthcare, engineering, and medicine. Our Taylor and Francis Africa branch was officially established in 2007 in Cape Town, South Africa, with the aim of supporting and advancing scholarship. We are also the only international academic publisher with an editorial team based in Africa. And included are some of our imprints: CRC, Routledge, Dove Press, Cogent OA, and the F1000. Next, I just would like to share some of the platforms that support learning and research by Taylor and Francis. The first is access to our TNF Online, which is our journals platform, where we have over 2,500 journals available across disciplines and more than 4.5 million articles. Our open access part, which has over 250 high-impact open access journals, our Dove Press and F1000, both focusing on open access. We have branched out into open access books with more than 750 available. And we also have our OA chapters, where we have more than 200 available within our platform. Lastly is just our ebooks, where we have over 100,000 ebooks available on our taylorfrancis.com website. And these include both our DRM-free as well as our open access titles. Next, I would just like to introduce you to the team based in Africa. I will start on the top with our commercial team before introducing our MD. We have Ningi, myself, Gabby, and Roscoe. We all do different aspects of Taylor and Francis. Ningi's focus is print, mine is ebooks and journals, and Roscoe's is open access. We have our researcher engagement division with Sam and Daneline, both in marketing and our business liaison for open research. We also have our editorial team, which are in the bottom left-hand corner. That's Mokaseng, Eleanor, Anli, and people, which is HR as D. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our MD, Natasha Devasar. She is the Managing Director and Commercial Lead for India, South Asia, and Sub-Saharan Africa for Taylor and Francis. She is a 2-term president of the Association of Publishers in India, the recognized trade body for international publishers in India. Her edited book on Indian publishing, titled Publishers on Publishing, Inside India's Book Business, published in 2019, provides a panoramic view of the industry. She is guest editor for Look Back, Looking Forward, that is 75 years of Indian publishing, which was released in 2022. This is a special double issue of Logos, a journal of the world publishing community published by Brill. And she has been lauded as the Channel News Asia Woman of Substance in Asia in 2017. I will now hand over to Natasha to begin our presentation.
I start with gratitude. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank all of you for this opportunity to be part of this session and this conference, though virtually. Thanks very much to Secretary General AAU, Dr. Olusola, for partnering with TNF in your mission to support scholarship and research in Africa, and of course for making it possible for us to be part of this event. Thank you to the hosts, the University of Namibia, and specifically the VC, Dr. Kenneth. Thanks also due to the team working in the back offerings for researchers in Africa. So, for example, creating this publishing ethics booklet you see in the first, which links ethical publishing to policies and requirements of specific African countries, rather than giving a wider sort of generalized set of ethical norms and ideas, which are also, of course, available. We work with Knowledge Unlatched, we have
I'm sorry, Natasha, you've got just 1 minute to go.
All right, moving on quickly then to the next slide. I think if I have 1 minute, I will move just complete with talking about. I'll go really fast. One is by being we are in India. We are part of the global south and the requirements and the understanding of that, and we are trying to use that to work with partners in Africa to align with STISA, to understand what the policy, and to create content and partnerships which feed that. So capacity building for STEM, for example, is a big part of what we have identified as a need, and within STEM, the areas which are listed on the slide. Similarly, working with the UN SDGs, another focus. So getting African content on areas which are relevant for Africa by African scholars, and then making it available is a really big part of our hope and mission going forward. Next slide, Gabby, please. These efforts over the last 2-3 years have produced results. As you can see, we've done over 500 books in the last 2 or 3 years. We have 28 open access. Our submissions have grown. Our publications have grown. We've had an outreach of through our partnerships with the Conversation Africa, over 1.1 million global reads of African research coming out in our journals. In the end, last slide, please, Gabby. The local team is there to, as part of our effort, to listen to what you are saying and to work with you. And these are echoes from some of our partners.
Natasha, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be rude, but we are keeping to time, and because we have very limited time for this presentation. But what you've said, in fact, you needn't have gone beyond 3 slides. I think everybody's already clapping for you. Thank you so much, Francis, for what you have for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for speaking to us via video conferencing. I do hope that my colleagues will understand. Each time people now speak through video conferencing, we say Zoom. That's not correct. And as chief executives of universities with students, we should know to say the correct thing. There are about 50 software applications for video conferencing. So you have Google Meet, you have whatever, you have. So it's just like what they say in Nigeria. Somebody says, give me a biro. But what he's saying is that, give me a pen. A biro is only a brand. So whatever you are doing is video conferencing, then you can now say via Google Meet or via Zoom or via whatever. Because if you do that, other companies can sue you because you are indirectly promoting another company which is not theirs, what you are using. Thank you very much. May I now call on Mr. Leigh Kamolis, who is the Director of Analytics and Evaluation of QS, the UK, to speak with us for just 15 minutes on excellence and university reputation, the ranking of African universities. And your time starts right now.
Okay, thank you very much for having me today. I hope everyone's still well awake after a long day of very interesting discussions. So today I'm going to talk about rankings in the higher education sector. And I know that rankings can be quite a polarizing topic. I understand why, but love them or hate them, rankings provide a really important external lens on higher education performance. As the Vice-Chancellor of UNAM pointed out in his opening remarks this morning, the performance of a university and its broader context can't be separated from one another. And often you'll find in the rankings there is this sort of correlation between broader trends that are going on in society, in the environment around us. The limitation of rankings, of course, is that they only do provide a specific lens on a specific set of measures or questions, and they need to be absolutely used in the right context alongside other sources of information. I think sometimes the criticism of rankings is when they're viewed in isolation without looking and blending that together with other data sources. In fact, our research with students around the world has shown that this is exactly how students are using rankings. They use these to supplement other types of information that they're consulting when they're making selections about universities. So today I want to share some of the experience of, that QS has had working with universities all around the world, and ask the question whether rankings of universities in Africa could add value to the sector, and if so, what would that sort of model look like? You know, I think the mission really behind it needs to be to support this real mission around driving excellence in higher education. So QS was established 30 years ago with this mission to enable motivated people anywhere in the world to fulfill their potential through educational achievement, international mobility, and career development. Our founder, Nunzio Quacquarelli, actually founded the company to solve a specific problem that he had experienced going and trying to study abroad as an international student. At that time, 30 years ago, it was impossible to find information about universities outside of your own local area. And what he did was started a publication providing information for prospective international students. Going forward a further 10 years, so this is 20 years ago, we produced the first ever QS World University Rankings, and the dial on what was going on had really changed quite a lot. You know, we had come into this internet era. It was an environment where we went from not having enough information, you know, these information asymmetries, if you like, in that people had when trying to navigate this space, to a space where there was way too much information to digest in a meaningful way. And this is really at the heart of where rankings came from, to try and help navigate that, help condense some of that information in a way that's meaningful, but in a way that was intended to be viewed alongside other sources of information. A little bit about QS. So we've worked with universities all around the world. Really at our heart is the QS World University Rankings, but we also run the QS International Student Survey, which is the largest survey of international students in the world, and have topuniversities.com, which is the largest student-facing portal to navigate education and career choices. So I want to talk a bit about the QS rankings framework. So the way we have always approached rankings at QS is really to try and reflect the collective intelligence of the global education sector. So we try to bring together views of academics and researchers, employers, and institutions that we engage, hundreds, thousands of them around the world, and try and consolidate this information through an independent advisory board of academics made up of people from all continents around the world. We also try to bring into this a student voice, and this is really going back to talk to that mission of QS, which is about trying to empower motivated people to achieve their potential. So some of the research we've done with students around the world has looked to understand what is it they're trying to understand when they're making their education choices. This is, of course, looking through the view of students who are going to study abroad. Those looking to study locally may well have slightly different lenses. But of course, things that come up again and again are issues around teaching quality, around funding and access to the institution, around a welcoming environment, and really having reputations that are strong in the subject areas they're looking at studying in. This is reflected in our rankings model, which really focuses on some of these areas. Again, looking in our World University Rankings, looking at this global lens. So last week we released our 20th anniversary edition of this ranking, and as well as some of our core metrics, which we've used over a number of years now, looking at reputation, looking at employer connections, looking at research outcomes. We've also introduced new measures which look at employment outcomes for students. They look at collaboration of universities in the research space, and also for the first time in a major ranking, bring in issues around sustainability. We're also, last year, released our first ever sustainability rankings, which is a pilot study in its first instance with a limited scope, but this is going to expand substantially this year. So this, again, was trying to reflect what students are trying to understand about universities. Repeatedly, students are telling us that they are considering the track record of universities on issues around the environment, on tackling issues around anti-racism, gender equality, when they're making their decision on where they want to go and study. In fact, 86% of students factor this into their decision-making on where they're going to go on to study. %8 of students think it's very important for universities to be taking action to address environmental issues, and this is what our first sustainability ranking model looked like. We did, of course, have an overall rank, but tried to break it down into different lenses, looking at environmental impact and social impact, which I think is very vital. We also looked at a number of other lenses, which in the interest of time I won't go through now, but you can review these later. We also, over the last 15 years or so, have developed a series of regional lenses. They use some of the building blocks of our main world university ranking, but have developed additional metrics or adapted metrics to look at issues affecting different parts of the world. We've done this in Asia, in the Arab world, and in Latin America, and found that over time, this has really driven new cultures of using data to drive institutional performance, to drive excellence, to understand what's working and what's not working within institutions. I mean, this sounds really obvious, and certainly those of you working as practicing academics always use evidence to support your arguments, support your decisions on what you're going to study next and so forth. But we found that in a lot of these regions, as we worked with them, this was not happening on a routine basis. These lessons that are obvious in the academic world weren't being folded into the operations of institutions. So it's been really exciting, and I think there's an opportunity in Africa, really, to consider whether a similar dynamic would play out or not. And this is something I'd really like to start a discussion with you on. So, just moving ahead, because we are short on time today. So what are African students trying to understand about their universities? They really want to know universities are making a stand on human rights issues, that they're dealing with issues around biodiversity, but also, quite interestingly, they want to know that the institutions actually have good ethical working practices in place to support the staff, supporting employee welfare and so forth. Students in Africa really think we should be looking to reduce our carbon footprint. 79% of them think this is a really important issue. However, it was really worrying when I was looking at this data that only 41% of students that 41% of students in Africa thought that the dangers of climate change had been completely blown out of proportion by the discussions around it. I think there's a warning to us maybe that there's more attention needing to be given to how we're educating people on these issues, and universities absolutely play a critical role in educating the broader society around them. I think this is something we've neglected in a lot of the discussions we've been having actually in this conference so far. So some of the things that matter to African students that came out of our surveys, they reflect similarly that global picture, but there's more emphasis on these links to employers. Certainly, the employment market, opportunities after they graduate, is something that's really worrying for many students in the region. Also, as issues around the quality of teaching in universities repeatedly come up in our studies. So looking at what a model might look like for Africa, here's a few hypotheses from the student perspective. I think a model would need to look at some of these issues around access to education, diversity and inclusion, reputation and teaching quality, employment outcomes, and sustainability. Looking at the broader picture beyond the student viewpoint, which you also need to blend together, of course, putting together any model that is of any use to anyone, I created a quick word cloud out of some of the key words that keep coming up in the discussions here at this conference, and certainly issues around collaboration, around open science, around investment, are things that certainly will need to be considered as part of any future model. So this is just the start of a conversation. As I said at the start, we're exploring whether it would be a useful contribution to this sector here in Africa to develop a type of ranking that speaks to the needs here in the region. Please do get in touch with me. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think works, what doesn't work. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for that. Thanks, Lee, for that presentation and for presenting your company as part of what, or being part of what we can do here. But actually, I'm sure people in the audience will tell you that we're already doing quite a lot, even within. There are indigenous models of ranking universities now in Africa, and one just came out, which was fantastic, and everybody applauded it. So what you are doing is just, we like that because it will be like, as they say, the icing on the cake, and the more the merrier. So thank you, and I'm sure when we go to the discussion part of it, you will hear from many people in the audience. Thank you. The last presentation is from Professor Alam Ahmed, the founding president of World Association of Sustainable Development, and Professor Farida Fortune, director of immunobiology and regenerative medicine, Queen Mary University of London. They have a slightly different presentation because there will be a demonstration, there will be other things involved. They may, in fact, involve you as you sit over there. But they are asking for more time, double the time, and I said, what I have written is what I'm going to keep to, and I've already consulted. But what I'm going to do is to reduce the time that I will give to presenters for their final comments. Rather than ask them to comment for 3 minutes, I'm going to ask them to do it 1 minute less so that you can have some time. But please be warned that I'll have to tell you when time is up. So you can start right as you reach where I am. Oh, you want to do it from the laptop? So bring your laptop and go ahead.
After connectivity. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you very much to the Association of African Universities. Thank you very much, the President and the Secretary General. Ransford, thank you very much. Thank you very much to the University of Namibia. They have been great. They help us.
You're eating into your time.
No, he's fixing it. Okay. So is it showing now on the screen? It's not on the screen there. No, I have it here, but there. So I'm going to talk very quickly. I'm going to do the demonstration. My colleague, Professor Farida, will do the rationale. But we have done this based on experience of what exactly needed for an African university. What is the problem? And I'm very confident, this platform will address the issues raised from the start, from the Vice Chancellor of Namibia. He said, share and ask. You will see it here. Until the last point mentioned now about ranking, students now, they need the university to show that it does care about sustainable development. So you can see it's there. But very importantly, because of the time, I'm really scared. I travel a lot, but we have given this one to give you full ideas. If you haven't taken a copy of this, make sure you take it in the registration. If you don't have it, ask me. And lastly, it's available online. Now, very quickly, when we design this, we ask ourselves, based on our work with the United Nations, what needs to be done. And I would like to ask you quickly, if the Vice Chancellor in the morning said about the sniffer dog detecting COVID, can I ask you, how many of you did know about what Namibia University did? How many of you did know about that story? Away from Namibian University. He told us about a great work. Who else had heard about this? Just one person. Can you see that? Imagine we are in Africa. Only one person. I ask you another question. Do you know there is a journal published by an African university called African Feminist? Anyone who knows about this? There is one lady there. Can you believe there is a shortage of journals on women and feminists? And we have a distinguished university in Africa. I will not tell you, I will show it to you. This is what is missing. We have the great works done, but it's not missing. The second thing, the United Nations, and I speak in confidence here because we have done that, they told us, why you are not having a representation of African in any expert advisory group? They said, we can't find them, Alam. This is said to us in Geneva, and I'm accountable for it. Number three, all this, so the components we created here, some African universities, they don't have websites. Many African universities, you click, you go to nowhere. And there is one university, I will not name it here, you click, you go to a born site in China. Yes, it's true, I'm not exaggerating. So this is why we took that into account. Number two, you guys, we can't find you. Distinguished professors, Oxford, Cambridge, the same like us and better than us in UK. But we can't find you. We also, your journals, so we have taken all this account for you to take. So this is the platform quickly. This is the universities here. And if you click here, you will see the universities. We try to use demo of data from the people who have interacted with us, but the demo for the universities, we took it from your websites. So this is your data, it's not our data. So you can come here, you will see the universities all together. Queen Mary, Ghana University, Sudan International University, Erlanga, our partner, Bahrain. So number one, once you join the global network of universities. That's number one. So you join California, Queen Mary, whatever it is. Secondly, we have here in the universities, we can say them by region. If you go to Africa, you will find all of them. The classification we use is the African Union, but we can change it. They told us this is East Africa, West Africa, we used it. So here you can, if it comes quickly, we're just waiting for, I click on Africa, but so you can see, you can choose countries by North Africa, you go to Egypt, Algeria, you go to East Africa, Central Africa. This is from the African Union, we can change it. Then you can say universities by the subject. So you are interested on universities working on health or in engineering. Until here we're talking about African inside the global knowledge hub worldwide. So if you're looking for agriculture, this will bring you immediately the universities across the world, including you, the Africans, working on agriculture. And here you can see Nigeria, that's Ferris University come out, Malawi, and Bangladesh. And then the thing will go to California. We're just trying to do the demo. Then you go to the next one, teaching. We are very keen for you to show your courses, particularly those relating to sustainable development goals. You have just heard about the ranking. All the research saying students now, for the last 5-10 years, they share universities based on how the university is dealing with the global issues, particularly sustainability. So we want to show your courses which are dealing with sustainable development. And here, if you click on courses, it will show you. It's just taking time on the internet, but you can do it when you go home. It will bring you the university. So the first university here, for example, from Russia. The second one from Bangladesh, Agriculture Chemistry, Bangladesh Agriculture University. The third one from Hungary, UCC, anyone. So you join in your courses, research journals, your staff, your news, your impact studies like the one we heard in the morning with the global. So when the people in the UN or in the EU or anyone looking for experts on climate change, they have no excuse not to find you with the click of a button. They find Alam very easy because I am in a knowledge hub, which is very easy. Not because we are clever than you. So you can see here. But then we have the research. You have the research centers. All your research centers will come under this umbrella. All your research centers in Namibia, Nairobi, Ghana, International University in Sudan, and so on. And the same thing will happen for your publications. And I have to speed up because the chair, I don't want him to scare me. I want to stop quickly. Now here you see the journals. And here, Ghana University, and I think we should give them a real round of applause because they have this journal. Africa Feminist is published by University of Ghana. Proper journal there, We will come later, not now, about how we can help this journal to be Scopus and so on. But this is the idea we show them. And then the important thing is here. Again, you can say publications by country, by map. You can just click on the map, go to Ghana, and it will bring you the universities. Go to Namibia, go to Khartoum University, Nairobi, and the countries are in colors. Let's go to Egypt, because I think we got a lot of universities from Egypt. We took quite a lot of samples from Egypt and Algeria because they will help us to demonstrate the African network and the Arab network. So Ain Shams University is an African university, but also it's an Arab university. So we can show you, you can be linked to others. The university in Zimbabwe is specialized in women. So that university will be under Africa network, under the SDGs network, and under the universities which are specializing in women. So it will join another one from Bahrain, will join another one from Saudi Arabia. The one in Saudi Arabia is the leading one in SDG in the ranking in sustainable development called Prince Noura, #1 in the Middle East. So the Zimbabwean University of Women will meet that university in the platform. That's how it works. 5 minutes, I will get it done. Then the event and the impact study. The impact cases, you could have seen that impact cases if Botswana has been, Namibia here. But let me quickly take you to 5 minutes. I'll do it in 2 minutes, try my best. Let me just explore inside. Let's go to Nairobi. I have chosen Nairobi not because of any bias. I have never been to Kenya. I respect them, but because we found lots of material to demonstrate. Look at Nairobi. This is how it looks. You have the front, it's banner, and then you have the profile. In the profile, yes, in the profile, the first box, yes, let me just do this one. In the profile of the university, you will see which other platform she's joined. So Nairobi University, when people, they see it in America or others, they know it's part of the African Universities Network. Now, when you click, it takes you to the specific one, which is the African Sustainable Development University Network. This is all pure Africa here. Like the university, International University in Sudan, Professor Bakri, it takes you, or Ain Shams University, it takes you to other platform, Africa and the Arab. And in the case of Sudan, it will take you to the country specific. So if you join Botswana University, there will be a platform for Africa, there is one for Arab, and there is one can be created for Botswana as a country where you have all that. But when you go back to this one, what you see here, then you have the courses. These are the courses from Nairobi University. You click on any one of them, it takes you to the link. But more importantly, it's already searchable if anyone wanted to study this from India. And the question you need to ask yourself, why many students African go study in Asian countries, why they do not study in African universities? That's a question. This money is going to Asian university, why it doesn't come here? So you can see we are in Nairobi. You go back to the research, and it gives you all the research journals.
Your partner is waiting.
Okay. Okay, this is the link. If it's not working, it doesn't work. Can you see the importance of the website? And then most importantly, you can go to the event and you go to the staff, and so I'll just show you the staff because this is one of the critical problems in most African universities' website. You can't find people. We know they are there. They know they are there. They studied in Oxford and so on. Here you can have real people where you can join them. So you want to see expert from Nairobi, you need to see someone as a staff, a leadership. You click and then you go and learn about that person. And don't forget this person who is coming now, the Vice Chancellor of Nairobi, he's already, when you click on him, then you learn about everything he does, including videos, talks about him, from him. Here, consult, that's what the Vice Chancellor said. Any person here or any university in this, there is this box, you can consult them directly. And we write down here, if they don't answer, you come back to us in London and we will get in touch with them. Finally, I will just show this one, which is the SDGs Hub. One of the cases, for example, or maybe we go to the climate change, is very important one.
We've got 2 minutes.
Okay, okay. This hub, in Nairobi, they have a center for climate change. Professor Bakri, I remember in Sudan, and I think the Secretary General was there, they did a conference on climate change. There's many of you having work on climate change. So you can join other universities working on climate change. In the objective, they have their theme, the resources here, journals on climate change, including yours, courses, conferences, research center, and then it comes to the team. Your researchers will join this team, then they will be working with the others. And then the rest. I think I have to stop because the time, really. But what I'm saying, anyone would like me to talk to him or her one-to-one, I'm available, and in 2 days. I'm not sure what we're going to do with the presentation, but...
I have said.
Okay, I have to stop.
I just want to reiterate what I said, that you have the same time allotted to everybody for both of you. However, I'm going to reduce the time allotted to the presenters to make their final comment and add it to your group. So Farida will have 5 minutes. Counting once you mention your first word. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay, while they're arguing, so this is the presentation behind, the backing behind building the platform, which I think is absolutely essential, and it's already used over the Middle East. We've worked with the UN for quite some time, both academics at Queen Mary. Prof. Amal has expertise in policy research, and I built a platform for the UN, and which was given the go-ahead and worked really, really well during COVID. We used diaspora to deliver into countries where they needed information, supported them throughout, and before that and after that still continue. The platform is built on this model, and instead of having all the health institutes and teaching institutes, all the universities and the subgroups within the universities are on the platform. And the platform is truly global. It's got really good governance. You can't do these things and make a platform without security and governance. If you look at Goal 17, is to strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. It's required in all universities. We all know some of them, but we don't know knowledge system, ICT, monitoring, evaluating, and data collection and analysis are really important. We signed a MOU, and this should all be done. The driver is your population. Whatever you do, that's the thing that will drive what you do. So the concepts, I will just show you really quickly. You can read them, so I don't have to explain. And that forms the backbone of the system. And you can see here, it's really important. All the universities and the QS rankings are requiring you to show that you work within the sustainable development goals. Okay, and there's a concept, but in the end, you know, you have good research, you know, good base, good value system, and that you are informed, innovative, and it's sustainable. This again, I'll quickly share as a background, and the processing is usually people-related, but on a system, right? And so it goes right to the base of it, all right, to you people, and we build the building blocks through a university, then into the country, then into your region, then into a wider region, and then globally. Your data will always be secure. It's always yours. You always hold your data. However, you can choose to share it, but it will make a huge difference for everyone who's talking about interconnectivity, exchanges of information between universities, which is not very good in Africa. It isn't very good in Europe, but it's actually quite poor in Africa. You've got to learn to trust and to share to do well, okay? And this is actually say, taking Namibia University, how the platform will be set up, how you'll have coordinators nationally. And then you can see how you go from the base and work up and globally. So although it is The platforms in the middle, the interconnectivity, it's across countries, across regions, right? And you can even go from one university to another university. So I'm going to stop there because the next thing will be the demonstration. Again, if you want to ask me, I should be available. You probably don't even know my name. So thank you very much. Thank you, Prof. Bakri. Thank you for the chair. And thank you, the women who are here. Thank you so much. Last but not least. But the one thing I did want to
do you want to use this?
Yeah. Let me just show you the last thing I do want to say to Africa is learn your own story and know how magnificent you are, because that's the thing. You do not know your own story. If you do, you'd be flying and not sitting there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Farida. Initially, you spent 4 out of the 5 minutes I gave you, and I was going to get everybody to applaud you standing up. Then you came back and used the 1 minute and more, so I didn't know what to do now. But I think you did very well, I must say that. I want to thank you for the way you perceive what you had in mind. I mean, if you wrote a book of 130 pages, you should be able to summarize it even in half a page. And that's what you have told us now. That's what you've taught us. Thank you so much for that. We will now go into discussion. And please bring up as many questions or addition, inquiry, or whatever. However, just be mindful that we are going for dinner in 1 hour. Yes, so, yes, Professor Okebukola is there. And you second behind. Any other person? Oh, okay.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for the way you've handled this session, keeping us well within time, which I'm going to work towards. I don't know how many seconds you're going to give to me. Yeah, but as friend and friend to friend is concerned, you see, in this room, there are 3 groups of vice-chancellors, 3 groups with regard to ranking. There are those who loathe ranking. They don't like ranking at all. And I've labeled them rankophobics. They don't like ranking at all. There's another group that love ranking. I've labeled them ranking Philics, P-H-I-L-E-C-S. And there's a third group, they don't care. They don't care at all about ranking. Let me tell you about the first group. The first group of vice-chancellors or participants in COREViP 2023 are those who, when the ranking scheme publishes its first set, and they are among the top 10, oh, this is very good, they love it. So they are apt to quote on their websites, vice-chancellors' convocation address, that they are number 1 and all that. The moment they slip to number 50, they say ranking is useless. They don't care about it. I know because Nigeria happens to be the first country in the whole of Africa that started the ranking of its universities 22 years ago. So we out history QS, out history Times Higher Education, Webometrics, and all of them. They caught up with us. So I'm able to see that vice-chancellors, when they are well ranked, they say, okay, that is fine. Second thing I'd like to say is that there are two categories of getting ranked, 2 categories of pathways to getting ranked. One is by self-enrollment. Your university can decide that, oh, Futo, mommy is here, the vice-chancellor of Futo. Oh, yes, I want to enroll to be ranked in Times Higher Education World University Rankings. So it's optional. The other is forced enrollment. Nobody's going to ask you. That's Webometrics. Webometrics, nobody asks you. You just find in January or July, you find you are ranked. You have no choice at all in the matter. The third thing I'd like to say is that the rankers decide on the metrics they want to use, how they want to calibrate it, and you have no choice at all in the matter in querying how they have done it. You see, we can get the same set of data on research, on teaching, on students' welfare services, and all the others. Same data. And me, as ranker number 1, I can say, okay, I'm going to give 0.5 of a weight to this particular metric. So when I publish my ranking, it will be different from ranker B that has a different set of weightings for the ranking. So the last couple of months, I keep hearing, oh, we are number 1 in this. Why are we, the same university, where are we number 2? You are number 2 because the ranker decides on what he wants to do. So you can't query the ranker. So I thought we should know that. The fourth and last thing is that, I can see the chairman is saying, yeah, don't worry, that's the fourth and the last thing. The Times Higher Education has started its sub-Saharan ranking. Before he did that, he had consultations with a number of people, stakeholders in higher education in Africa, and decided on the metrics, the indicators that we use, and ended up publishing this when Accra, when it was unveiled about a week ago. And what I found is that our universities are not able to supply timeously the data for the ranking. And so that caused some quaking in the system, but I'm sure that the next level, the next year, there will be a better outcome. And like the chairman said, we are very happy in Africa that we are improving. Since 2001, things have improved. And I'm glad to note that our Secretary General, Professor Olushola Oyewole, is working with QS to get the African ranking done. I have a forecast for you. By the time you do it, you'll see that many African universities will beat several of the European universities. Not be so, I think not so.
Thank you very much for that explanation and your interjection. The next one, yes, please. It is on.
Yeah, I am Rashid Siraj from the University Mohammed VI Polytechnic from Morocco. And I would like to follow up on my predecessor. I think he has set nicely the ground. The QS presentation, I think we all know QS and what it does. Now, these new parameters of sustainability, I think we've got to take it carefully. I've heard this week, for instance, École Polytechnique of Lausanne in Switzerland lost 20 points, just like that. And my predecessor said something about data. I think this is really crucial, especially when we start talking about concepts that are pretty complex. If we measure in publications or citations, I think that's straightforward. All of us, we know the metrics. But as we move into this tricky area of complexity around sustainability or SDGs, I think I would say we need to take it with a pinch of salt. I'm just questioning here the validity of the data and the process that goes beyond it. How do we process all this? And now moving to SDGs, that's even more trickier. I had the privilege, I used to work with the UN, with the FAO, and in 2015, I had to be with a delegation of FAO in New York when they were deciding on the SDGs for 2030. I can tell you that the trick now, as they say, the devil is in the details. What are we exactly talking about when we say SDG 3, SDG 2? We have a lot of things underground. That's just the tip of the iceberg. We have to look at the indicators. And now I was just browsing. I was curious to see all these things on the Arab world. And so I think, as they say, and this is, I'm sorry to be a bit blunt, but as they say, garbage in, garbage out. We have to be extremely careful, especially when we're talking now about SDGs, because we're halfway. We're going to be just, and if you look at Africa, the map, the UN organization is already showing that we are almost all in the red. Whatever SDG you want to take, we're all in the red. That's where I think we need to start, and we have to look carefully on those indicators rather than just putting names in there, because my feeling is it was just done randomly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really don't think you need to apologize for anything you are saying, because you are working on facts. So don't apologize at all. Just tell us
Try not to be too blunt.
No, please be as blunt as possible here, because we are all colleagues and we want to talk to ourselves. If we don't tell ourselves the truth, where are you going to get it from? Just like you said, 2016, the UNESCO data says that by 2030, only about 60% of African countries will have gone halfway through the expectations of their SDGs. So we have not even started. That's what he's telling us. And I thank you for mentioning this and for reminding us this. Any other person want you to say anything else?
Here.
Yes, please. Two people. Yes.
Thank you, Prof. Jegede.
I didn't know you were around. Yeah, thank you.
Professor Jegede, first of all, congratulations for well-deserved recognition.
Thank you.
I have written extensively on this ranking, not in a kind of a positive perspective. So I would like to follow up with my colleague there. First of all, 50% of Africa speaks French. 50% of Africa speaks French means the kind of data you collect, THE and others, don't actually look at the French-speaking and Portuguese-speaking Africa.
Sure.
So you are actually, in a way, excluding 50% of Africa. On top of that, what my colleague spoke there, in terms of data and information, one of the serious challenges we have in African institutions is data. So for me, you are actually shooting in the dark, that maybe this institution is good because of, in fact, even in terms of sentiments, you didn't put it as sentiment, but opinion, you call them. What kind of opinion we are talking about? There may be an excellent institution in Somalia or Sudan or Ethiopia, what they are called failed states. But the institution might be perfectly operating. However, your opinion percentages are so high in that area, that institution is simply out of the window. So I just wanted to follow up with my colleague there from Algeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, them too. Professor Maji, were you going to say something? Okay. Anybody else? On this side of the, yes, please.
Oh, thank you very much for the opportunity. Mine is, I want to know, why do some of the universities in this era where technology is advancing, they don't have websites?
Well,
if I heard correctly, go back to them and tell them that we want them to have websites. If they pay money, they must go to the government and look for funding. Thank you very much. That was my contribution.
Well, your contribution, which started with a question, is now an advice, and is now something else. What you are saying, in essence, is that you are advising all our colleagues to ensure that they all have websites. That's what you're saying. Thank you so much. Any other person? Yes, please. Oh. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, actually, I'm not sure. Somebody else decided to give you the microphone, but you can go ahead. There's somebody else here who should have said it, but go on.
Okay.
Yes.
It's favor, okay. Mine is a bit of a concern. One of the presenters said that one of the challenges that is coming out as a barrier in terms of excellence in higher education is the outdatedness of the curricula that are delivered in universities. I want to perhaps remind the audience of the recent crisis we had with COVID. As African countries, we were crying to Europeans to give us vaccines. Why? Because we couldn't produce them as urgently as the crisis demanded. So I don't know whether we will go back to sleep, but I thought that was a big wake-up call. So what I want to challenge this House is, what can we do so that we keep our curricula abreast of the challenges of today and tomorrow? Because if we keep talking and we do not implement that, then another crisis will come and we'll start looking to the West again to give us a solution. And when we have got big minds like we have here, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. What you have said is an issue, but my answer, my recommendation is that I wish you have a chance to get, is it Taylor and Francis or any other company, to sponsor you to go to Nigeria and go to NUC and ask them what they've been doing about curriculum reform. You will see that a lot is being done there, just to respond to what you are saying. But the issue is this. COVID came, we were looking for vaccine. Some people said they started doing something else. The question is, do we have one now? If COVID comes back tomorrow, are we going to go back to the same place asking for a vaccine? But I know that there's a vice chancellor here who will tell you that their university has developed an indigenous vaccine that can be used. And I don't want to mention, but I will just whisper the name and say it's Afe Babalola University at Ado-Ekiti in Nigeria. And the Vice Chancellor is sitting right in front of you here. So you may wish to speak with her, and you wouldn't pay anything at all. Thank you, sir. Dr. Oloide.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mine is just a quick question to QS, and it's on the issue of some of these new metrics they are using for their ranking. Number one, it was talking about human rights, and it was talking about carbon footprint. Are you looking at it from the perspective of, is a university doing something in this area, or does the university has a stand in this area? Because for a lot of African universities cannot have a stand, but can do something in some areas. Because there is nothing we can do, especially when we're being funded by government. So you cannot have a stand on some of these things, but you can actually do something by saying, okay, we're going to have a course on human rights issues or something related to that, but not to have a stand. So I just wanted to know that from what perspective are you looking at this? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think based on that, you've not made up your mind. All right, then, just a minute there. Could you let him have the microphone? Somebody?
Thank you. Paul Omaji, Admiralty University of Nigeria. A question to Natasha through Gabriela. I noticed that you've done quite a lot of work beside just publishing, and you've concentrated in the Eastern African, Southern African area. How do you determine where you go? Have you been to West Africa? Have you been to North Africa? Because I believe that those 7 strategies that you enunciated will be extremely important to go around the continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Somebody was waving at the back. Were you waving at me just to greet me, or you wanted to say something? You want to say something? Okay. 1 minute before we ask the presenters to respond. Go ahead. Where is the microphone there? Excuse me. I thought it's the lady. It was a lady who was trying to...
I am here now.
Oh, okay. Because I saw somebody else has a microphone there. I don't know how. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Engineer Dr. Mrs. Quinette Kingsley Omoibo. I'm from Guinea-Bissau University, Okada. I'm an engineer. I want to contribute to the area of curriculum. NUC, National University Commission Nigeria, has done quite a lot on what we call CCMAS, Core Curriculum Minimum Academic Standard. And in this Core Curriculum Minimum Academic Standard, every university, both private and public university, have been mandated to bring out the curriculum that will drive our universities. It will shock you to know that a lot of international bodies have even tried to key into this new curriculum. Now, it is all about outcome-based learning, where students are the center for learning, just as it is done abroad. So a lot is being done on curriculum in Nigeria, and we are doing excellently.
Thank you very much for that
Thank you very much.
If you listen, I had actually mentioned it before, so that's correct. Thank you very much. And by the way, our clientele, they are no more called students. Please note. Your so-called students are no more, don't refer to them as students in your literature. They are learners, right from the word go. And the reason is that we now learn for life. So anybody who comes to you started learning from the labor room or the delivery room and up to the time the person will be buried. So we're all learners now, not students anymore. At this juncture, let me ask the presenters if they have something to say, and they'll be given just 1 minute to respond to what is happening. Will you be saying that, or you want Natasha to respond? You want Natasha? Okay. Natasha, we are waiting for you. Well, while you get ready, we'll call on Lei. You want to respond? Thank you.
Okay, I think it's actually impossible for me to respond to some of that, those questions in 1 minute. I mean, one thing that does come up in many of these discussions, I think it was a really important point. The first gentleman started off with this, saying some people love rankings, some people hate them, some people don't care. I mean, privately, many of the people who don't care publicly do care privately. You know, they just aren't declaring that publicly. I mean, there's almost an implication, though, that comes out of some of these discussions that it's actually better not to measure anything at all rather than measure something if it's going to be imperfect. And I think we need to be a little bit careful in navigating that. I mean, just, again, sort of going back to that opening presentation today, you know, there was this demonstration of how some of the rankings outcomes globally correlate with other things that are going on in the environment around them. And I think there's a danger that if you do drill down into a too complex model, you're actually going to over-engineer it and not end up with any different outcome that you do by using this really high-level view. It's, you know, almost feels like data 101 in many ways. So, I mean, to steal the words of George Box, he says, all models are wrong, but some are useful. And I think rankings can be useful. You know, they're not applicable to every context. They need to be read in context, read in the right environment, in the right way. But I do think they can add something to compare and to contrast, to you know, add some sort of useful point to benchmark your own performance against in that way.
Thank you very much for the response. Is Natasha ready? She is? Okay. Let's have her for a minute. Yes, you have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Right. So I'll respond to the question which was asked, which was which countries and how do we choose. It's completely in the initial stage driven by, you know, where the universities are, where the research, so data driven. And then we are moving. So we started with South Africa, went to East Africa. Next month, I'm going to be in Ghana. Nigeria is the next. So our ambition and hope is that we can work as we find partners, and as we find, we will go across the continent. We have a 15-year history of working with local partners and to grow and amplify local scholarship. And in the last 2 years, we have enhanced that with local teams, increased partners, and enhanced engagement. Going forward, we will continue our efforts, learning from the partners to build capacity in STEM, to grow the quality of research. Everybody's talking about rankings. Whatever model you choose, we are there to support you to get into those rankings. And do so by aligning with local policy, local requirements, and by listening to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I know that many universities are worried about law reports, law materials, and all that. Do you have anything? Do you have an answer to that? Do you have law reports that you work on? Because many of our law schools don't have this in, you know, they can consult. Yes, so are you working on that? Go ahead.
We do have content. I don't know exactly what you mean by reports, but we do have a good law list, and Gabby is there. She is able to provide information on the lists and output for law that we are producing and offering within the region.
Okay, thank you. You say you come to Nigeria next month. When you do, I will need to find you out and take you to a law school for you to hear from them.
Happy to do so.
Thank
At
you.
the moment, going to Ghana, but soon Nigeria.
Oh, I thought I had Ghana and Nigeria.
It's Ghana and Ethiopia, sorry.
We don't want to put you on the spot, but there's a vice chancellor from Nigeria saying, when are you coming to Nigeria?
Soon. It's my biggest ambition to be.
How
maybe
soon
the next
is soon? That's what it is. All right, we know the difficulties in arranging these meetings, but once you get to Ghana, you can always hop to Nigeria. So you'll be welcome anywhere.
Thank you.
If you land anywhere in Nigeria, just shout the name. Where is Peter Okebukola? Where is Oloyede? Or where is Lillian? They'll be there. Anybody will welcome you very well. Okay, and don't worry about accommodation. They will accommodate you wherever they are. All right then. Now, yes, you have your 1 minute.
This very short 1 minute. Quickly, why university they don't have website? The proof, go and check them. Many of them, they don't have website. Some, they take you to a born site. Who is responsible? The government. That's why we said this is a process. This is a government. And I said to the Minister of Higher Education in Sudan, if I were you, I will give them a notice. 1 month, I need any university with the website, even basic. This is my conduct address. If they don't, you have to sack the vice chancellor because it's a responsibility. There's nothing to do with the West or England or the World Bank. United Nations, my colleague from Morocco, in 2000, we did a work for Tony Blair. He was a commissioner for Africa. And we found that none, not 40%, none of the African countries is going to achieve the Millennium Development Goals at that time. None. Either off track or seriously off track. But that's not the point about the university. What we're trying to do, and the ranking, is what universities are doing, because the universities are supposed to help countries with development. The World Bank said the nations, the nation development index will depend on the quality of higher education. That's why you see United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Saudi Arabia as an example. But what universities should do, to answer my colleague from Morocco, Manchester University came #1. The 17s, they answered them. One example, women empowerment, which is one of the SDGs. They have shown with report how they empower women, how women have become leaders and so on. The professor from Namibia said, my 2 deputies were women. So you need to show evidence. What they have done, solar. Sussex University, they prove they have done with climate change by relying on solar. You said that, Professor, earlier. You remember? One of the people said here. You said that, I think, on another one. Why not you use solar? Then you will say, we are contributing to sustainable development goals by now depending on solar. That's what universities should show, and that's what the ranking is all about. Number 3, I don't want to comment on the ranking, but I tell you the Times Higher, which we are likely to work with them, they contacted us. They said for Africa, the major problem they are facing, the data they use is all from the Thomson Reuters. And Thomson Reuters, if you publish in a non-Scopus journal, the system will not pick you. Because these people, they work on convenience for them, not convenience for you. So if your journals, the one they are great journals, African Feminist, if it does not become Scopus, it will not have any count in any ranking. So this is why we want to go to the grassroots. If we manage to speak, we get to the African journals, we will bring them through the Association of African University in a webinar, 3 hours. We will bring people like Farida and others to show you the roadmap to take your journals from Namibia, Ghana, to be Scopus. If you bring it Scopus, you, not just for that ranking, but for your own sake. Everyone published with us. I asked them in Saudi Arabia, everyone, they want their journals to be published in the Scopus journal. You guys, Makerere University, they publish with us many journals. We need a Scopus journal. If your journal becomes Scopus, other Africans will publish in your journals. Other Africans, they don't have to pay thousands of pounds. They will pay it to you. This is the mechanism, I think. And just one last thing, if you don't mind, just one last thing. I think that the issue about ranking, the professor said a very good point. 50% are French. You should think of how to improve your university performance. Make sure, today, do it and tell me tomorrow. Go to your own university and tell me tomorrow. Say to me, Alam, look at my university. Where is the courses? Where is the research centers? Where is your journals? Where is your staff? Just click and show me. That's how you see it. If you want to see Alam, just put Alam, put Farida. She will come straight from Queen Mary. Show me tomorrow, say to me, this is my university. Click on Research Center. Some of the clicks, they take you to nowhere. This is what you need to do first before you think of you become number 1 or number 10. I think that's what you need to do.
Thank you, Alam, for that. With the passion you've spoken and the way it's increasing by the minute, if you give it the time, we may all be here till tomorrow night. But thank you so much for that passion. We appreciate that. And I really wish to say that it looks like we've got more on our plate than we really can chew. And I only wish that there's a post-conference workshops or post-conference open system where anybody can go and talk to everybody and people will just continue to listen. But I do hope that you'll find a way, the AAU will find a way of making sure that we get everything from everybody. Sorry? Final remark? No, you've used a minute. He's used a minute. Sorry about that. He used that minute. No, it's not that. He used a minute. I told them what he had. 1 minute for each group. But if, let me put it to vote. Do you want to listen to her for 1 minute? Yes. 1 minute it goes. 1 minute. No, start speaking. Your minute starts speaking from here. Hey, Farida, your minute starts speaking from here. Here.
To the audience, I wanted to answer the COVID question and the vaccines. So again, somebody has a vaccine in Africa. Nobody knows about it. There's another vaccine in South Africa. Nobody knows about it. The whole idea about the platform, share information. Why do you depend on a European system or other system? Where is the African? You've got to decolonize. Okay, you've got to decolonize, you've got to de-imperialize and have your own. You've got the people, you've got the expertise. Don't try and just hold on to everything. Have an open platform, share, and you will become much stronger together. We don't know in either of those vaccines if there have been trials to show that they're any good. But if you've done that, empower others to do the same. You don't only have it. Ebola, it stopped, not because of what the Americans were doing, it's what the diaspora did. And very quickly, we put a 10-page from a 100-page UN document, a WHO document. They used it. Okay, it made a difference. It turned off the Ebola. We are Africans. Use the diaspora. Use yourselves. Make your continent African. Nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I think we have done a bit of justice to what we'll be given to do. We're now. I wish I could get you to keep speaking, but I know you want to. But there's no time for that. I really, on your behalf, we want to thank AAU first for making this session of stakeholders possible, and also for thanking our colleagues here who have spent so much time to get this ready, particularly those who did not sleep last night, just working on their presentation and all that. I know what that means. So thank you very much. And thank you, Natasha, if you are still listening to us. We now just request that you, just by way of supporting them and telling them we love what they presented, by just applauding them. Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you. Okay.
Let us also give an applause to the chairman for this session. Thank you very much.